Hi, we're here to talk about NetBackup Instant Recovery for VMware. I mean, it kind of says what it does on the tin, but Jason, you're going to talk us through that from a technological point of view.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Thanks, Gareth. So NetBackup Instant Recovery for VMware is a very, very exciting and cool feature. So I'm going to talk about some of the details, but let me just talk to you first about the problem that this solves. So this actually reverses the restore problem that a lot of customers and backup administrators deal with. The normal restore process is you restore the data, and then in the case of VMware, you restore the data, and then you power your virtual machines on. What we do with this feature that I'll go into some more detail is we actually reverse that paradigm. Okay, so we're going to actually power on a VM directly from the backup target, the backup location, and then restore it. And I'm going to walk us through that process. So the NetBackup Instant Recovery for VMware, we do support Windows and Linux media servers that can go through that process. So of course the master server would communicate down to the media servers. And I'm sorry, this is actually a media server right here. Let me just clarify that. So it actually communicates down to the media server, and it's powered by a series of steps, which I'm going to talk about. So step number one is here we got our VMware environment that we're protecting. We've got our vCenter. We got one or more ESX servers with our virtual machines located there. So the first step in the instant recovery for VMware process is we actually mount the backup target. In order for instant recovery for VMware to work, it does require a disk-based storage unit. So we actually mount that backup target. We use NFS. So we mount the backup target as a temporary data store to the ESX server. So that's with the ability that we can actually power on the VM because these VMs are being backed up here to the backup target. Through the NFS protocol, we mount that backup target as a temporary data store. And so to the ESX server, we can initiate that process. Additionally, as part of this process, we actually take that VM, we register it into vCenter, and so vCenter is aware of that process. So once that process has been completed, step number one is done. Step number two that I just talked about before is the actual restore process. So what we're doing in this feature is we're actually leveraging VMware's feature called storage vMotion. So we actually take and we can move that VM or multiple VMs from that temporary data store back to its original location or original data store. That does and can take minutes instead of hours, depending upon the size of the VM, the network, whatever it may be. Once that process is done, third thing we do is we take that temporary data store and we do a cleanup process. So we actually remove that process, remove that temporary data store. All this is captured directly through the vSphere client. Under tasks and events, you can actually see what's going on. And so we clean up that data store so it's no longer accessible to the ESX server.
Okay, Jason, that's great. So it's already mounted on the data store, and using vMotion, you can dynamically restore that to any location, couldn't you?
Correct. Yeah. So you have the ability. You can simply right-click and browse data store. You can get down to the VMDK files. You can copy those locally. Copy those off to either the original or alternate location. It's accessible at that point.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
And so, what would the use case be? What would customers actually use this feature for?
Right. So additionally to the additional benefits that I talked about, reversing the restore paradigm, is there's actually three use cases that come to mind. First of all is compliance. So if you're dealing with a compliance issue where your compliance team or security team is asking, hey, are my VMs getting backed up? Right. This is a quick and easy way to test and validate that from a compliance perspective. The second one is if you're a customer that's dealing with dev test environments, where you want dev test environments spun up or VMs to be spun up without having to restore them. Dev test is another good use case. Third thing is application testing. So if you have application VMs and you wanted to test compatibility, maybe it's roll out a new version of the application or a service pack, it's a great example. You're already backing the VMs up to the backup target. It's a great way to ensure that application testing as well.
Okay, cool. Very, very cool, Jason. So it's very flexible. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's instant, and that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Jason.
Sure.